the better striker. Yano with the better wrestling skills. His discipline is wrestling. He's 3 years younger than the shoot fighter. Gives away a couple of inches, and Fujii definitely with a size advantage at just under 220 pounds. Now keep in mind, in the tournament format for the Japanese, the weight classes aren't as distinctive as they are in the States. Here's the discipline description on Fujii.
Amateur Shuto champion. That involves more mixed martial arts style rules involving striking. He's a strong striker, and of course, submission locks.
So Fujii takes on Yano in our first matchup of the night, with the heavyweights still ahead on the card here from Tokyo, Japan. And Yano is definitely the young man who has the wrestling ability with the takedowns, and that means perhaps the ground control.
It'll be interesting to see how much he knows about mixed martial arts. With the wrestling ability comes takedown ability, and if you have the takedown control, you can dictate where the fight takes place. So we'll learn a lot about Yano very early on by his tactic. Is he going to try to bring it down to the ground, or is he going to measure his opponent in his ability to stay on his feet striking?
You know, the last time we were in Japan, Randy Couture against Maurice Smith, the wrestler against the striker. And perhaps that's what we have in our first tournament semifinal here tonight. Our good friend Mario Yamasaki will be our referee for the first couple of bouts this evening, and then the all-too-familiar Big John McCarthy will call some of the later matches. First tournament semifinal, we are set to go.
Now let's see what Yano decides to do. I'm sure he'll try to measure Fujii and see what kind of striking ability he has before going on and making his choice as to where to go ahead and put the fight.
What is the major difference, Jeff, for this first competition inside the octagon for these both very experienced fighters?
Well, right away, you know, the Japanese crowd control their emotions. It's a display of strength to not let their emotions show. In the United States, it's the exact opposite at a sporting event. Everybody wears their emotions on their sleeves, so there's relative silence as these two engage. That's the first thing right away that I noticed.
And it's always a difference when you see the fights on any level in the country of Japan. They understand the fight game so well that they watch it in the way that many U.S. audiences would watch perhaps a golf tournament or a tennis match.
And they have so many different organizations staging various styles of martial arts competitions. So based on that, there's a strong following in all the martial arts, and especially now, mixed martial arts.
Yano in the white trunks, and Fujii with the goatee in the gold trunks.
Well, they're measuring each other. Neither one is really engaged. It's all been feel-out strikes. Nice right hand, but again, really not set up very much.
Yano with a low kick. Now, those can have damage if continuously delivered. You just kind of break down your opponent, as we have seen in the past. Utilized probably most effectively during the career of Maurice Smith.
Yano experienced in both freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling, meaning he's got the ability to shoot on legs and tackle or tie up the upper body. And of course, we saw Randy Couture against Belfort be able to tie up the upper body and then take advantage of infighting, striking from close range.
Katsu tried the combination to return the right that landed and glanced off his left side just a moment ago. So Katsu and Yano now kind of feeling each other out 2 minutes into round number one of this 15-minute bout.
A bit of a slow pace. Neither one has really come in and engaged. They're still sort of feeling out. It might be that Fujii's waiting for Yano to take a shot, but it appears as though Yano doesn't feel threatened at all by Fujii's striking skills, so he sees no reason to rush it to the ground.
Now, Katsu tried to deliver a knee that time, and the quickness of Yano, he was able to counter that attack.
But that, once again, that knee coming up is indicative, as if Yano had shot at that precise moment, he would have shot right into a knee strike.
And there is Yano again. That time he tried to shoot in a big combination of a right and a left. And Fujii coming at Matsuyashi Yano now.
And there's Yano. Once he starts feeling vulnerable on his feet, immediately resorted to his instinct, and that's a wrestler. Let's get it down on the ground where you no longer have the freedom to strike me at will.
Striking with rights and a big right punch and another. Oh, and that one delivered.
Armbar.
For submission.
Armbar. Fujii's got an arm, but Yano's got his elbow on the thigh. He doesn't have that arm extended, no pressure, and he gets it free.
And some big lefts delivered to the facial area of Fujii by Yano. So somewhat of a guard position, but yet Yano being able to take advantage and strike from on top.
And what a flurry of energy spent and activity of skill once they committed to a strategy. And dancing around on their feet, neither one did until Fujii started getting to Yano, and then Yano turned it into this.
Oh, he's really delivering combinations now.
Question is what kind of striker is Yano? It's one thing to hit with a punch, but is the punch effective in terms of the power behind it? It doesn't seem as though Fujii is really affected by those punches.
It doesn't appear as if Fujii is able to get a full guard position on Yano here, Jeff.
Well, in terms of a complete guard, a closed guard, wrapping his legs totally, but as TK uses an open guard, and that is just keep them between the knees, keep them inside your legs, doesn't matter whether they're wrapped. And that's really the individuality and creativity of the athlete, what works best for you. But being pushed up against the fence like this with no room to maneuver really does put Fujii in a stationary positioning, allowing Yano to hit him with strikes.
20 seconds remaining in round one. 3 5-minute rounds in this tournament semifinal number one on the card here tonight at UFC 23 in Tokyo, Japan.
And Yano's arm was nearly caught in an armbar early on. He was able to free it, but it seems as though Fujii not only can strike on his feet, but he's got a pretty competent guard and will look to try and transition into a submission.
I would say the way that Yano finished round one, he would be in the lead early in the fight.
At this point, he seemed to rally quite well, and he was very, very active from within Fujii's guard and landed a number of strikes. So I would agree with you. I think Fujii's ahead. Excuse me, Yano is ahead. Yano is ahead at this point.
Well, Fujii is the better-known striker, as we talked about, but yet Yano trying to deliver strikes to Fujii. One would guess as a shoot fighter, if you have thrown punches, then you have taken punches. So if one is better at taking the punches, I'm going to guess as these two make their debut tonight, it would be Fujii.
Absolutely. That's a good read, and he is used to the striking game, and that gives him, an edge in experience. But, Yano did the right thing. Why take it to the ground and go into a submission position if you really don't feel threatened on the feet? And once he started eating some fists there in that one big flurry, he realized this is not the place to be. Let's get it down on the ground. And once he put it on the ground, he was very effective with his striking there. So he got a good takedown and a number of strikes in.
So round number two underway. Our referee, Mario Yamasaki, Mike Goldberg, Jeff Blatnick, James Wormy. Happy to be here in Tokyo, Japan for UFC 23.
And let's see if Fujii now, knowing that if he can get to Yano on his feet, has the ability to score. He seemed totally at ease on his back in the guard, but he was getting hit by Yano. So it'll be interesting to see the way the judges scored. And again, it's Japanese judges. So we're not sure how they go ahead and interpret this Japanese style of fighting. And the tournament is fought under the UFC J rules.
They are familiar with the criteria used in UFC competition stateside. Also that same criteria in Brazil. Quick left jab by Katsu there.
And I need to make a point, Mike. Really, the only difference between UFC J is allowing people of slightly different sizes, where we have the weight categories now, and we're very precise with them. They'll allow different size fighters to go ahead and compete. However, when it comes to the actual skills allowed and not allowed, they mirror the UFC.
And that's what we will see later on in the show and on the card tonight, where a young man like Takasi takes to the octagon. But we'll stay on this tournament semifinal number one. First of all, Yano against Fujii. Yano, the 24-year-old, Fujii, the good fighter, the striker, the shoot fighter, and a former champion in that regard.
What I'm watching here, and it might be true, when you talk about a striker, some people like to move forward and initiate, while others like to counter. And it seems to me that Fujii's a counterer. He is not stepping forward even to jab much. There's really his first attempt, but without a doubt, Yano is waiting. And he's playing the classic grappler game, and that is go ahead and throw a big punch. If it wings by me and you miss and follow through, I'm going under and taking you down.
Now, Katsu has taken the middle of the ring, which is something that Ken Shamrock always talked about, but Yano knows for him to go toe-to-toe with Fujii would be a serious mistake. And so if he can display the patience and wait for an opportunity to shoot again, as he did in round number 1, that's exactly what he's going to do.
You can get lulled into that belief that, hey, I'm doing all right, let's start to press, and that's exactly what your opponent's waiting for. And Fujii seemed to be the better striker on his feet, and he just may be waiting for Yano to try to do something too aggressive and start picking him apart.
Midway point of round 2 here, Jeff, pardon me, 2.5 minutes remaining in round 2. Remember, 3 5-minute rounds in tournament semifinal number 1.
And this is a bit of a slow pace in terms of real scoring activity. They're circling, they're measuring each other, but neither man is committing to the full-fledged attack.
I think what the interesting point that needs to be made here is that a fight on the feet advantage to Fujii, but yet he has shown no ability to score any points on his feet. Any points that were scored in the matchup were when it went to the ground and we went into Yano's world.
That's exactly correct. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, big right hand. Fujii caught him. He was patient and he landed a big right hand.
Now a big flurry, and he's going for the finish.
And that's going to do it.
And Yamasaki steps in, and Fujii, just as I said, was unable to do damage on his feet, wins the tournament semifinal number 1.
It was out of the blue, just a big right hand. It hit him and it knocked him down. Fujii immediately took advantage of it, came in swinging, and to referee Mario Yamasaki, it appeared as though Yano was in trouble. He ended the bout.
So just as some may have grown impatient with the lack of striking on the feet, it is the young man Fujii who scores the TKO in round 2 at 3:14 and wins tournament semifinal number 1.